The federal Liberal tent is expanding. Longtime Conservative MP Marilyn Gladu has crossed the floor. Gladu is the 5th MP and the 4th Conservative to join the Liberal Party. This latest move brings the Liberals 1 seat short of a majority government, with 3 by-elections still to come next week on Monday. So for more on this, I'm joined now by CBC's chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton. She's in Ottawa. Hey, Rosie, thank you so much for making time for us.
Of course.
Okay, so was this a surprise, and how does it change the political landscape in Ottawa?
It was a surprise. I will say that of all the rumors and the gossip about floor crossers, Marilyn Gladu's name was never mentioned to me in the newsroom or anybody else that I spoke to. So that is a surprise, and it changes the landscape in a couple of pretty dramatic ways. It first of all means, as you say, that it gets the government 1 seat closer to a majority, but it also changes, I think, some of the pressure on Monday. We would widely expect the Liberals to hold the 2 Toronto by-elections that are at stake. It's that Terrebonne riding that was the results of which were annulled by the Supreme Court and is having a redo, if you will, that becomes decidedly less important, right? Because if they get those 2 in Toronto, then they've got the majority, not a huge majority, obviously, but they've got the majority they need. So Terrebonne now becomes a riding that they would like to hold, but they don't necessarily need to hold. It is a much more real fight against the Bloc Québécois in Terrebonne, and so that changes things a little bit. But to go back to Marilyn Gladu, if I can, just for a moment, and why she is somewhat of a surprise, other than the fact that we just hadn't heard her name, she doesn't really line up with the list of floor crossers who have come before her, who I think I would mostly describe as having some progressive conservative leanings. Marilyn Gladu is I don't think that is not how I would describe her, and I'll point to a couple of examples. She opposed the legalization of cannabis. She also was not, she voted against an act to end conversion therapy. She was at one point during the trucker convoy against vaccine mandates sort of openly cheering on that convoy. And she very recently said that she believed that by-elections should automatically happen for MPs who cross the floor. So I would put her certainly to the right of the Prime Minister and to his party, and perhaps even to the right of some of the people inside the Conservative caucus. So I do think it begs some questions about how big the Liberal tent is becoming, and also, who exactly is feeling comfortable inside Pierre Poilievre's caucus at this stage as well.
And that perfectly leads into the next question I had, which is, what is this particular crossing, when we're talking about Gladu and all of the things that you've mentioned here, what does this say about the Liberal Party right now compared to what it was under the previous government?
I mean, I think that is a question that Liberals will be asking. They're gathering in Montreal starting tomorrow for their Liberal convention to talk about, policies and the way forward. I think it speaks to the moment we're in, and certainly Marilyn Gladu herself said that her constituents were looking for serious leadership, that they wanted someone who was willing to build the country and focus on the economy. Those are all the things that the Prime Minister is trying to do, is talking about doing, and it speaks to wanting to be part of a team that is doing those things. I do think that there comes a point where we might find some Liberals uncomfortable with the expansiveness of the Liberal tent. But when you are winning, when you are close to a majority, when you are holding power, those complaints tend to not emerge very easily because people want to stay in those positions and they want the ability to govern. I think it also, though, to the other point, does speak to Pierre Poilievre's leadership, which, yes, he won the leadership review back in January and is holding on to his job. But now that's 4 MPs who have crossed the floor from his caucus, all representing different parts of the country and different parts of the Conservative coalition, who are now all saying this is not the team that I want to be on, perhaps understanding that Mark Carney is, perhaps days away from a majority, and sitting on opposition benches isn't a fun thing to do for a number of years. But I think it also will get Conservatives talking about whether the Pierre Poilievre's leadership is still viable, whether it is becoming an impediment moving forward.
So many questions still to come, and I continue to look for reaction from the Conservative Party leader as well. Rosemary, thank you so much for joining us. That is CBC's chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton, in Ottawa.